Have you ever wanted to be part of a community that's prepared for whatever may come?
Think about it, a community of people who have your back, where you're all working together to make sure that all of you thrive. Well, today we're going to talk to a couple of guys who've done exactly that and are going to show you how you can get involved.
Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and today we have a special treat for you. We have Bobby Spags and Patrick Henry from Midwest Preparedness Project. They are doing some fantastic things in the name of community and helping to get people prepared. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and help our audience understand what the Midwest Preparedness Project is all about?
Hi, I'm Bobby Spags. I'm one of the dynamic duo that does all the grunt work for Midwest Preparedness Project. And I have quite the sordid background. Like we were talking earlier, I was born 45 years ago today. It is my birthday. I was born over the missile silos of Minot, North Dakota. My father was in the Air Force. And so I grew up all over the world, including Europe during the Cold War, which really helped to cement some of my mentality as a prepper. From there, I went and I became a house painter, and I joined the Army at the same time. So I was over here doing house painting as a civilian, and I was going once a month to Army drills until 9/11 happened, and I was called up to active duty. And for 2 straight years, I was a military police officer at Fort Riley, Kansas, as the active component was deployed. I stayed in the Army for 16 years. 3.5 of that was active duty. Another year was in Iraq. And then after Iraq, I was no longer a house painter. That was during the '08 crisis, and the guy that I worked for had to shutter up his shop because of the economy. At that point, I went to work for the United States House of Representatives as a congressional liaison for a member of the Kansas delegation. And I worked immigration, casework, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, all sorts of stuff. Anything that wasn't directly tied to the DOD or to the IRS or Social Security. I worked all the other federal agency casework for her. And I did that for about 8 years. And then I went to work as a government contractor. And in 2020, a certain thing was mandated, and I was told I had to take it, and I didn't. So I quit. And that's when EMP Shield scooped me up. And I worked as a contractor for them for about 3 years. And now I work for another friend of mine in the prepper sphere here in Kansas, helping him sell wooden floor and roof trusses. So if there's anything that's to be done, I've probably had my hand in it at some point.
I'm Patrick Henry. I'm also part of the powerhouse team that helps drive the bus here at the Midwest Preparedness Project. And what Spags and I do, like you had alluded to, in helping to grow the community and the threshold of just general preparedness as a whole in the Midwest and throughout Northeast Kansas, specifically where we're located. My backstory is survival has kind of been the name of the game since the day I was born. And we migrated to this area, I guess, in probably 2010, right after the big bubble, that 2008, 2009 financial bubble. I was working as a union contractor in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the bottom fell out of the industry I was in. And it was literally Providence that brought me to Kansas. The company I was working for, they closed down. If the owner found out that the guy he had managing that store had been embezzling money. And so he literally came down on a Monday, fired the entire company. I'm so nervous. This guy shows up, he's got a manila envelope like this, and it's full of walking papers and checks. I'm the very last person he calls into the office that day. I'm just sweating bullets. Everybody else is gone. They're mad. They're kicking toolboxes on the way out the door. And he says, Patrick, I don't know what you've done and how you've done it while you've been here at the company, but I want you to stay on. When we close this out, I want to offer you an executive job up in Kansas City. You can go to Topeka. You can go to Lenexa. You can go to our office out in the Ozarks. I don't care. You get to pick. You get to choose. I just want you to stay with the company. Help me close this out. We chose the corporate office. We ended up in Lenexa. And that's how I ended up meeting these cool people. Spags and I ended up teaming up when he was doing the expo stuff. We kind of ran into each other in the circles that we operate in. And next thing you know, fast forward, and we're doing the Midwest Preparedness Project spearhead together. So
that is awesome. That says a lot about you, Patrick. I wanted to start out today talking about, okay, I don't want to be too much about the fear and the doom and gloom, but
Sure.
Our world is going nuts. Challenges are accelerating at a pace that we have never in the history of the world seen before. So you guys are really into preparedness, like us, like we're really into mitigating the challenges. So what I'd like to do is ask ask you, number one, what is the biggest threat that you see personally, and what you are personally doing to mitigate that threat? And I hope that some of that will help our audience. So, Bobby, you're
Yes.
first.
In my opinion, the largest threat to anybody is the state. It is the single organism that has the ability to compulsorily take as much of your money as they want and spend it on things you don't care about and use it to kill other people. And the state has set itself up in the place of God in the minds of most people in the West. The state is the only agency that has the ability to force you to not follow the will of God in its endeavors and to basically force you into obeying laws that are contrary to what might be part of what you believe to be a morally aligned lifestyle. The way you mitigate that is you have to be prepared. You have to have off-grid water. You have to have off-grid power. You have to produce for yourself as much as you can. And you have to, most importantly, align yourself with a community with other members who are doing the same thing with the same goals and who fill in the blanks of what you can't do. Not everybody can do everything. Nobody is an island, and no one has the ability to be their own supply chain, at least for 99% of what we're doing. And so you got to pack up and yoke up with people of like mind.
Very
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
All right, so Patrick.
So to caveat and piggyback off of my brother Spags, so in lieu of what he said and following that line of thinking, to me, it's the division that's been sowed into our culture today. So on top of that, I think that that's a huge threat. I also agree with him, and that is part of, I think, the dialogue that's been drummed into us, perpetually over the last 40, 50, 60, 80 years. But to me, it's the division that's been sown culturally into us as a species today. You've got family division. They've broken down basically the nuclear family structure that actually made this country great, and made us what we are cohesively today, or at least what we used to be anyway. And then, divided between left and right and this sports team versus that sports team. Or even down to your church, from a secular level of this church doesn't communicate or get along with this church because these guys believe in the rapture and these guys don't, and these guys take communion. So that it's that division that's kind of driven a wedge between all of us culturally, leading back to this common core problem being passed to this narrative with the state. And what I'm doing, or what we're doing, is again kind of synonymous to what Spags indicated, is that we're driving that community narrative. We're trying to remove as much stroke as humanly possible in allowing those people to divide us by putting on things like the Midwest Preparedness Project Festival, which is like a big melting pot. It's basically like the Statue of Liberty for preparedness-minded people in the Midwest. Like, give us, you're tired, you're dirty, you're hungry, we'll feed you, we'll put you in a big festival, we'll love on you, it's a big fellowship, and then we'll send you back home and then teach you how to do it wherever you come from.
That is awesome. You guys really surprised me because I wasn't anticipating either of those answers. Jonathan, it's your turn.
I agree with what you have said. Those challenges are huge. And then kind of we stack on top of that a grid down event. But then suddenly, like you said, we're on our own. We have to be on our own. We have to be able to make ends meet in all these areas: food, water, shelter, energy. And we do that together. And that's why we are so excited about your project, is you're helping people learn how to do this together. We have to act as communities. We have to build communities, and we have to do that a day at a time, a step at a time. It's not magic, but it can happen if we want it to happen and if we help it happen.
The biggest risk that I see is that I won't be able to take care of my family. I won't be able to keep them warm. I won't be able to feed them. They won't have a place to be, that there are all these scary things in the world and people who are unkind that will impact our family. I love my children. I love my grandchildren. And then we take it out a step further. I love my neighbors. Like, we have such an incredible group. Ours kind of goes out into our church group where we have this like church family. And it's kind of interesting because then kind of almost anybody who enters suddenly becomes part of this loved group who we want to take care of. And so for me, I am looking at, can I take care of my family without electricity? Can we defend against some of the challenges that are around us? We grow a lot of our own food. We've learned so many different skills, and we have that knowledge base because that knowledge is power. The more I know that I can be self-reliant, and the more I teach that to other people, the safer we are all together. And I think it's absolutely beautiful that that is your mission too. And until we sat down and started talking about this, I didn't realize what a fantastic thing you guys are doing. So do you have anything to add to that?
No, it just keeps coming back around to community. That's what you folks are doing. That's what we're doing. More than anything else is teaching people that you don't need to be a lone wolf. You don't want to be a lone wolf. You want to be part of a loving group that builds and lifts each other, that complements each other, because as you guys said, you can't know it all or do it all.
And in those communities, we also need to recognize that while we talk about them being loving, we are dealing with real people with real personalities and real conflicts. Someone who I incredibly admire is Jeffrey Holland. And once he said, imperfect people is all God has ever had to work with. And he deals with it, and so should you, or so can you. I mean, I know I totally messed up his quote. Sorry about that. I think that too. We need to be patient with one another. We're not all going to agree politically or religiously like what you were talking about, but we can all love each other and appreciate each other and work together.
So I'm excited to hear all about what you guys have going on. And I know there's an event coming up and you'll tell us about that, but it's bigger than that. It's much, much more than that. Help us see your vision and your mission and where you're going.
It is much bigger than that. And obviously, Bobby and I, we are just cogs in the Lord's machine, and we're just doing our part. And obviously, like all things, there's a season. And this just happens to be our season of carrying this torch. And this, some would call it a burden of driving the narrative, because most preppers are inherently lazy. They're introverted. They don't want to go out. They don't want to seek, community and yoking up with a tribe. And that's part of the problem that allows us to be divided. Looking at the Midwest Preparedness Project Festival that we put on in our camp out, it's interesting to look at it because, again, going back to how it all started, it's a measure of divine providence, in my opinion, and that everything happens for a reason. And just like those seasons, we all drift in and out of each other's lives exactly when we're meant to. Bobby and I, if we'd met each other 20 years ago, we might not have liked each other. We might have punched each other in the nose. But go back 5 years ago, and he's my best bud now. I mean, we do a lot of stuff together. We have a lot of programs that we run together. And looking at the roots of the Midwest Preparedness Project, it was kind of formed and formulated around a necessity to fill an innate desire, that services the human condition that goes back to the beginning of time, and that humans are not meant to be alone. We've always sought each other out and looked to be a part of a bigger tribe or a bigger solution or a community of yoked up, similarly aligned, like-minded people. And so that's kind of what we're doing in the overarching scheme of things. Is from a 10,000 foot view, we're going out and being a part of this thing that we've spearheaded called the Preparedness Tour, where we've linked up with other like-minded communities across the United States. Maybe hopefully something back up. We don't have anything on the West Coast yet, but we're working on it. We've networked with some people throughout the Midwest, going out to the Appalachians and trying to drive that narrative, building the communities at a ground level base from the family structure up.
Yeah, family's a real important part of this for us, which is one of the things I think that sets apart Midwest Preparedness Project from a lot of the other preparedness expos and shows. A lot of them are just male-centric dudes with beards grunting about AR-15s and bug-out bags. And you'll get a little of that if you come to our event, but what you're also going to find is we have a youth coordinator who puts on youth stuff the entire time. We have female presenters, like we have male presenters, and people of all walks of life come to this thing. And the kids have stuff to do, and the families have stuff to do. Probably one of the coolest things we ever experienced was a few events back. The kids were putting together little wooden birdhouses. All of a sudden, you saw moms and dads coming from tents and their RVs, from around the campfire and helping their kids put these things together. And it almost took over the whole morning to where we postponed the adult, events for, 30, 40 minutes to let them all work together. We just allowed it to organically happen. We didn't try to stop it. Well, we got to stay on schedule. No, we were like, this is beautiful. Let it happen.
So if some of our audience wanted to participate with you or learn more, help us know what we need to do, where we need to go with that.
We have a website, MidwestPreparednessProject.com. We do have a Facebook page of the same name. If you're like me and you're not inclined to be on Facebook, we have a Discord called the Real Midwest Preparedness Project. And we have a YouTube channel, the Midwest Preparedness Project. You can find us on all of those. And if you're one of those French folks like I tend to be, where you're on alternative social medias, we have a MeWe page. And so I'm on X. We have an X.
Instagram.
I'm not on Instagram.
We
But
don't use a lot of those.
Yeah.
Some of those we don't use, but our primary focus is Discord, YouTube, Facebook.
Let's go back to talk a little bit about EMP Shield and Grid Down Readout. Like
Yep.
you spent a lot of time. In fact, that's how we were introduced to Bobby, right? Is
Yep.
through EMP Shield. And that's one
Yep.
of the things that's pretty exciting for us, because an EMP, there's just a really high likelihood that we are going to have some type of an event like that. Talk to us just a little bit about what you've learned about EMP Shield.
EMP Shield was a godsend for me when I left the contracting world, because I wasn't going to be told what to put into my body. They scooped me up instantly and they cast me a lifeline. I worked for them for almost 3 years. And part of what I did there was reach out to folks like you to become affiliated to the company and learn about it. And we sat in on so many phone calls and presentations from, briefings from government agencies all the way down to state level agencies. Patrick and I traveled to multiple events around the country, including the IEEE symposium,
Conferences,
and
festivals.
water conferences, electric conferences, all this stuff. All we did was talk about the threat of EMP and the fact that this product actually is known to mitigate that threat.
We are within the next few weeks having the Grid Down Readout installed at our house. That's
Oh, fantastic.
Nice.
huge thing for us. But John's been waiting for years to find what he felt was the right backup system.
Looking for something that's really going to meet our needs and that felt right. So,
And we know the guys at both EMP Shield, we know the guys at Grid Down, they're great people. The guys that put their name behind those products wouldn't do it unless they believed in it too. So there's certainly products well worth looking into and having your audience, go look at.
Yeah, not to beat the scary horse, or the scary drum, like you talked about at the beginning, but we are very aware that the threat of EMP is real. And in fact, it's been something that has been addressed from the White House down for the last 60 years, plus years. Every sitting president for the last 40 years has been briefed and advised on it. And it's only since President Trump authorized Executive Order 13865, which then drove the states to take the narrative to protect against the threat of EMP, that people really started taking it real. And places like Coffee County, Kansas, and other counties across the country started actually taking initiative with things like ARPA money to buy EMP shields and protect their critical infrastructure for the residents, the businesses, the trash pumps, the water lift stations, things like that. We are very aware that random balloons that fly across the United States, they're not taking atmospheric data readings. We know that the 2 North Korean satellites that orbit the United States every 92 minutes, they're not transmitting cell phone data. It's a strange time to be alive. It's an interesting time to be alive. And EMP is an absolute threat. And having something that takes away that stroke or that ability for the state to control you or the masses to control you, or again, that division, you've got power at your place there, at your redoubt, at the Provident Prepper retreat. It would be neat that you could share that power with your neighbors that you love.
Absolutely.
Or to, run somebody's CPAP or charge somebody's whatever, right?
That's one of the big things that we talked about. We're like, okay, we are being blessed with this opportunity. God gives us these opportunities and these resources for a
Yes.
reason, and not necessarily for us. We are all instruments in God's hands, and we'll see how he works all of this out. But I have great faith and trust, and the resources that we have belong to him, not to us.
We are just
So-
stewards of it.
you're doing a great work, and you could probably use others doing similar kinds of things. How would people get together? I mean, we encourage our audience to, get to know your neighbor and make friends and find like-minded people. But there's a lot of people out there that are a little bit lost. And we get that from some of our comments, that they kind of don't know how to start building this community or making a movement that will help mitigate the challenges that we face. What suggestions do you have?
First and foremost, most like Patrick referred earlier, most preppers are introverts. You have to learn to be an introvert in an extrovert's world. Most of us would rather never leave our properties, only hang out with our kids, our spouses, and maybe our close friends. But you're never going to build anything if you just stay to yourself, right? A light, that's hidden doesn't shine light. So you have to, one, use social media and use websites like ours. We have places on the website where you go and sign up for these communities in our area, but we allow people to start their own community pages on the website.
Yeah, Discord.
Yeah, if you come to the Discord, we can absolutely start setting up state pages. You can just go start typing in search engines, preparedness organizations or homesteading events near me. Go to, I think there's a website called Prepper Shows USA, and you can click on the map and see different events that are all around the country there. And then once you start narrowing it down to that place where you live, you can start deciding to go out to these events and then start talking to people. Most of these events, especially the ones that we put on and that I've put on in the past, we always had tables and chairs set out away from like the vendor floor or the classroom where you could just go sit and talk.
For you to fellowship at. Yeah.
Right. So that would be step one, is to get out of your comfort zone and actually leave your property, at least from time to time. Use the tools that are available to you while you have them, because the internet might not be available to people like us. It might not be available to anybody in the near future. Use those tools now to seek out like-minded people. There's plenty of alternative media places out there where you can go find state pages. Like I said, we can do it on the Discord. I know Freesteading has state pages, and some of the other social media outlets have state pages. You can probably just go to YouTube or Rumble and type in Preppers Kansas, Preppers Colorado, Preppers Utah, Preppers Montana, and find results.
Yeah, or to simplify it, just go to your local email, whatever you use for your email, and just email spags@midwestpreparednessproject.com or phenry@midwestpreparednessproject.com. We will absolutely help you. We're not professionals. We don't take any money. We don't do this for a living. This is just out of the kindness of our heart and our spare time, because this is like our 6th and 7th jobs of us doing this and trying to pay the taxes and keep the taxman and that government state model at bay from seizing my house or whatever. So go to those email addresses and just email us. We'll absolutely help you. We'll help walk you through whatever it was that you are stumbling on, or whatever it is that we've had experience that we can share with you. We're glad to do that. We do it all the time.
We're not those people that are going to put you behind an AI chat bot just to get to us. If you email us, that's our emails, and you will absolutely be able to talk to us.
You guys are amazing. You are so amazing. Okay, so in conclusion, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Sure. What you can look forward to at a Midwest Preparedness Festival would probably be a good thing to end on. This time we have 6 events that we call them classes, but they're more of presentations. But some of them are educational, some of them are inspirational. We have a natural beekeeping class on Friday morning. We have a gal named Dawn Gorman coming out to talk about the female's perspective on prepping, beyond the beans and bullets. And then Tag from Life Done Free is going to host what we call the Freedom Panel. We started that last time. It's where all the presenters get on stage, and he's kind of the MC of that event. And you can directly interact with these people. You can directly interact with the people you see on YouTube or on websites. And you can ask them direct questions right there from the crowd. You put them on the spot, challenge them, and actually get answers from them. Following that, we have an event that's called Grumpy's Seed Exchange, and that's friends of ours locally that have a YouTube channel, Grumpy Acres Farm. They host a seed exchange. 2 rules: nothing that's going to get anyone arrested, and no money. It's a barter-only event. Yep. After that, we have what we call Preppers After Dark. I think I talked to you guys about this product too, WROL or ROL, the World Without Rule of Law. They donate so many of those decks to us, and so we actually play it around the campfire at night with a whole bunch of people going back and forth with scenario-based stuff. And that's just Friday. Saturday, 3 more classes. We have a female self-defense class this time. Saturday morning from one of our local shoot houses called Fire Defensive Skills. They're going to come out and let the girls beat up on dudes in red man suits for a while and teach them some self-defensive tactics.
Yeah.
Then we have Nicole Sauce from Self-Reliance Festival, which is one of the other events on the Great American Preparedness Tour. She's going to come out and talk, give a presentation about doing it alone, what it takes. After that, Tag is going to do an actual live feed for the final event, Life Done Free live event from the stage, and interact with both his audience online and the audience that's going to be there local. After that, we have another event called Barter Town, which again, 2 rules: nothing that's going to get me arrested, and no exchange of fiat currency.
Yes.
And it's probably one of the most magical events of the whole thing. People come to this just to go to Barter Town. And the whole idea is, at the end of the day, after all the giveaways are done, after all the final ceremonies are done, we've had the potluck, we've had the prayer, everyone rushes over to the pavilion, sets up all their tables, put out all their wares for trade, and people just walk around for 2 to 3 hours haggling things.
It's a prepper bazaar for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It started out as a blanket on the ground, and now it's kind of taken on a life of its own. So much to the point where Bartertown is now being implemented, and they say that
Prep Stock over in North Carolina that's going to be out this October saw that we had the Bartertown event, and now they're going to copy it for their event over on the East Coast.
and they say, what is it saying? Imitation is the
Best
greatest
flattery.
form of flattery. So now others are starting to implement these things. There's a group in Nebraska that's kind of copied our thing and is doing it there. It's just like what you said. It's allowed us to witness to those people, fellowship to people in different parts of the country. So actually now in the world now, we've had people from Australia, Canada reach out to us, Mexico, England, that have all attended this thing, and in the same context of how do we be better. So the whole family preparedness, I think, is one of the biggest things that we kind of glance over, and how, again, Bobby alluded to in the beginning of his speech earlier about how we involve the entire family, how it's not just a bunch of dudes with their bug out bags or, freezing over the winter talking about their favorite gun. This involves the entire family and the community. Going back to what I alluded to in that division, it helps break that down because, like he talked about, there's all these different types of people. You will have, different denominations. You'll have people from the left, people from the right, everyone in attendance at this thing. Hopefully one of these days we'll get, Jonathon and Kylene to come out and maybe sit on the Freedom panel with us.
I ask them every year.
You guys are doing awesome work. We are
Yeah,
so
hopefully.
happy to be part of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for our audience, I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did today. Please take the time to be very proactive in building your community, in building those relationships with other people. And for the guys here at Midwest Preparedness Project, for our question of the day, what things would you like to see them do? What great ideas do you have for maybe them to incorporate into what they're doing, and to maybe be able to reach you wherever you are? So hopefully you guys, you'll be in these comments interacting with our audience, and you guys give them all kinds of great ideas, because together we're going to make a difference in this world.
We got this.
We're going to be okay.
We got this.
Right?
We're all in this together.
Yeah, we are all in together. And thanks for being part of the solution.